Well, boys, that will be my review of the Moza R25, the flagship direct drive wheelbase, and it's gonna be a little bit different this time because I don't think it's enough to just give you my subjective opinion. I really want to show you what this base looks like in real use, so you can see what you have to deal with, because this is a monster, and decide for yourself if that is something for you and it will be beneficial for your particular case. Starting with the necessary disclaimer, Moza sent that base many months ago for test and review, free of charge, just like many other companies does in this channel, send products for review, so if I'm based or not, that's something you to decide. Let's dive in. Let's move very briefly through the specs, because those are quite interesting, and then move to the action and show you what you have to really deal with. I think this is the first 25 Newton meter DD base under 1K, and if I'm wrong, just correct me in the comment section. So for those who are looking for crazy power and good value, that base definitely have place in your wish list. Then one subjectively positive change is the shape, which I personally like more than the old powerful models they have. There are some fancy RGB telemetry based lights on top for those who enjoy those features. Same connectivity on the back for other Moza peripherals. Some claims for better wireless connectivity through the slip ring, rated to several million cycles and more bandwidth. Inside, they also claim the new 25 Nm flat wire zero cogging motor delivers 26% higher torque density with true zero cogging. I also heard in one of their videos some crazy statements about response time under 1 millisecond. Next unique feature to that specific model is the true torque sensor, which must deliver in general insane precision and sharper handling. And the rest of the specs looks just nice, like 25 Newton meter, which are actually the holding torques, nice 21-bit magnetic encoder with 2 million steps, and upgraded cooling system. Again, I'm just reading those specs in their website, which looks impressive, and that is definitely their flagship direct drive wheelbase, but let me show you that monster in action so you can understand better what you have to deal with. All that being said, that's gonna be a very slow paced video, but I really want to show you what is possible with this base. And again, it is not my job to tell you if the upgrade worth or not. That's gonna be absolutely subjective and up to you. I will start with the worst case scenario, which is LMP car on iRacing, but whatever you're gonna see applies to every different sim with those cars. Just the feedback will be a bit different in feeling, but the end result will be the same. And those cars are super harsh, super rough, and I guess we're gonna deal with tons of oscillation. So let's start with very harsh settings, which are I'm at 100% feedback, and the professional one sits at 100% as well. Then the force feedback equalizer, you can choose from those 10 presets. My personal sweet spot is 5. And then on the advanced settings, as you can see, I have turned all the different filters down. And on the other side, where the hell is this? Okay, first page. I have turned on the hands-off protection, which is important, and choose that option here for wheel inertia because I'm using small wheel. Now, first, do you need 25 Newton meter force feedback? And do you gonna use it ever? Let's check how it's going to feel at 25 Newton meters. Let me turn this up. It's clipping already. So, I don't think I really need to say anything. They're gonna need 25 Newton meters? I don't think so. Now, let's just push the auto. And iRacing give us 4.9. So, let's drive with 4.9 and see what we have to deal with. Again, zero filters. Moza are well known with very spiky feedback. So, oscillations with zero filters will be crazy with those cars. As we go down in different classes, that will be a little bit better, but oscillations with those cars are absolutely crazy. Now let's check how we can control the car with zero filters. Of course, right now the tires are a little bit... I'm driving without sound, so... Man, I had to do like so many corrections and actually fight the bass, and usually that's what's happening without filters. So here is one thing: if you don't use filters, the bass is quite rapid, so the feedback will react super fast. It will turn the wheel super fast, but you really have to pay attention at which point you have to react and keep it there. Go pairs. About details, there are tons of details. I think I feel just a little bit more road texture than the other Moza bases, like 16, the Up 21. So, another thing, if I lock the front tires, I can instantly feel that through the force feedback, which is super cool. The same as when I understeer. That is a good sign, especially for iRacing. iRacing are not very good, at least with GT3 cars in that. You can see how spiky the feedback is right now without filters. Let's try to offset the car here. Be a little bit more aggressive. It's okay. Oh, but those oscillations are crazy. So, let's deal a little bit with the oscillations. Or at least try. Advanced settings. Let's add some interpolation. That is not the right setting, so natural damping 15, natural friction And I will give it just a little bit inertia, one click. So let's see if that's gonna make things better. Now, again, if you don't car LMP cars, move the video ahead and check the other cars, because things are very different with different cars. Now the control is quite better. The feedback doesn't overreact, but the oscillations are still there. So we slow a little bit the overreaction. Oscillations are still crazy. Let's add more. Natural friction, let's go to 50%. And that is still on automatic force feedback from iRacing, which is quite high for my like. But I guess it's the most realistic one. So adding friction, I don't feel I lost any detail of the film, but oh my god. Okay, oscillation is still absolutely crazy. Still, with tons of friction, the feedback can correct the slide. It's not up to me, it's up to the feedback to correct that slide, but oscillations are still crazy. Now, let's move this back to 30 and add tons of inertia. 350. That is like tons of inertia. Hopefully that's gonna settle a little bit down the feedback. I think it is possible. I think I lost a little bit of the surface effect. It doesn't shake that much right now. Oscillations are quite better, that's for sure. Man, that mouse drives me crazy. But the corrections of the feedback are absolutely top. I don't see any difference there. Even if the wheel feels a little bit sluggish, still the slide is quite easy to be catched, not from me, from the feedback. Again, that's what I'm looking for in the settings. I want the feedback to do the work, not me. I just listen and try to work with the pedals. Lock the front tires. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I try to overdrive the car, and but oscillations are still there. Like, kill those tires. So, I guess if LMP are your cars, you really have to put a lot of inertia and friction to calm down the bass, and driving on high torques, it will be absolutely impossible. That being said, let's move to the next class. Here we go with GT3 class. This is the Porsche GT3R. And I start with the same settings, the same force feedback intensity. I already can feel how much lighter the steering wheel is. I'm curious to see what feedback iRacing gonna give us, but first let's check with those same settings how the oscillations are. Way better, but I feel like the feedback now is way too sluggish. Let me try to slide a little bit the car and see if the wheel can react fast enough. Nah. Okay. So with those same settings, but with that car, the wheel feels way too sluggish, and the force feedback wouldn't really help me to catch the slide. Again, those are just cold tears. First, let's see what the auto. Oh, that's way more feedback intensity. Definitely felt way lighter than before. Let's see with that intensity something gonna change. No. Okay, so it looks like for GT3 cars we have to change few things, and that is interesting. Like, you really have to play with the settings depending on your experience and what you are driving actually. So let's make the bass a bit more rapid. Go down on the inertia, because I think the inertia is what makes the movement way too sluggish, which worked well for the LMP, but here it doesn't help at all. So let's move the natural friction down and see what now is gonna happen. I know that. Instantly I can feel the feedback is way more rapid. Yeah, look how much play is in the feedback, but I'm sure we're gonna get tons of oscillations with that strength. And I think that feedback is a little bit too much for me, but anyway, iRacing says 8.3. I'm gonna drive on this. Oh, oscillations are crazy, sorry. The question will be how now those settings will deal with slides. Okay, and that is too much power. Just at some point I couldn't resist the feedback. I catch the first slide, but the second was impossible because I just didn't have enough power with one hand. Let's turn this down to 6, maybe 5.8. So I guess you have to find your sweet spot in terms of overall power. Now I'm using that track because of tons of anomalies. Yep, that was way better. I didn't have to do really much to correct the slide. It was feedback. Much better. But tons of oscillations. Yeah, full throttle. So right now we have very responsive feedback, which can correct without overshooting in that correction. Excuse me. But we have tons of oscillations. Now, if I try to take off those oscillations, one, I have to put down the feedback, which for me will be okay, or add more filters. So inertia 200 and 60% natural friction. I don't think those filters are problem for those new bases with those new motors, because as the motors evolve, the feedback become more and more rapid. So as we were going on settings without any filters, that's almost impossible now. Yeah, the oscillations are better, but if it goes to some harsh anomalies, definitely will start jumping like crazy. Let's see. Yeah. It's okay. The thing is, I will now not affect the slides. That wasn't bad at all. That is not bad at all. It's like I'm doing nothing right now. Just the feedback does its job. Again, as you can see, with way less aggressive settings in terms of damping friction inertia. With GT3 cars, things are completely different. And that's the balance you have to find. It will depend how much torque overall you want to use, and if you crank up the overall power, you have to push the sliders on the friction and the inertia a little bit higher. And if you go less overall torque, you will need less of those filters. But in general, you need to find that balance. Right now, I feel like super confident in my driving. All the effects are still there. Maybe I lose like 10% of the road harshness. And that being said, let's move to GT4 class, where things must be even more easier to be set without tons of those filters. Actually, let's move first to something completely different. That's the Audi GTO, absolute monster, old school car with very soft suspension. I use the same settings, the same power, different wheel, which is bigger, heavier. That's gonna change a little bit the experience. But let's see what we're gonna get in terms of oscillations with that steering wheel and that car. Feels quite heavy. I don't think, however, I missed any of the road texture. Yeah, it's quite heavy. And we use probably less than half of the total power of the steering wheel, of the base. But it feels sweet. I can really feel the understeer. Let's see what's going on in terms of oscillations. Oh, it's way better. You see, that's the difference, man. It will depend of what car, or actually what cars you're using. As much more softer the cars are, that much better the oscillations are. Here we go, the power slide. We don't have much to do. Again. And just follow the feedback. Absolutely good. Now, let's turn max power now. This is the thing. So, 25 Newton meters are absolutely no needed at all. What happened? Oh my god. Yeah, you definitely don't need so much power. But one benefit of having really powerful bass is you're gonna get like a little bit more effects. The bass, the steering wheel gonna feel a little bit more alive. If that bass is faster, on paper they say it is, but in general control I think every bass can achieve that. So it will be, come on, what's going on? It will be absolutely up to you to decide if you want to get the flagship and be sure that you are not missing anything. Now that's gonna be like game changer for me, no. For some people maybe it won't make any difference. Other people may say it's day and night. That is absolutely subjective. It depends very much from person to person. But in normal Newton methods, oscillation is okay, feedback is brilliant. Nothing to complain about. So, Moza, they really have super rapid feedback, and you really have to calm down this. And particularly with that new motor, I guess you can really add tons of filtering to make it enjoyable and still have fast response. So let's move to another car. Now the last experience gonna be rally, and hitting the auto I already get like 5.9, which will be way too much. In rally I personally don't need too much torque at all. It doesn't feel really bad, but still, oh man, it's definitely too much. But you see how calm the steering wheel is? That's what you need in rally. You don't need to rapid, oh god, movements. I need handbrake for this one, I don't have right now. Okay. Let's put it a little bit down. 4.4. I don't really have to do much with the steering wheel. Oscillation's pretty good. So if you are doing just rally, I don't think you really need so powerful bass. You don't have to fight with those torques at all. I'm not a drifter, I don't know what to say about drifting, but I guess it's probably the same. With the power slide, the steering wheel auto-correct, you don't have to do much. So, it's up to you. That was too much. Another thing somebody asked me to test on iRacing was the LFE effects. And that's how it sounds. I'm personally not fan at all of those motor vibrations. Of course I can tweak the frequency, but I don't like that at all. So that's the speed limiter. Let me explain a little bit more clear what we have here and try to help you decide for you subjectively if that direct drive wheelbase is for you or not. As the war between those companies is going on for years now, and they're evolving with new motors with more dense magnetic field and lighter shafts, what you saw in that video with those crazy behaviors is going on with every new model. You know, all those faster responses from the feedback lead to some crazy behavior, and the years driving without filters are far gone. I saw that with the SimMagic Evo series, same with the SimCube 3, and now with the Moza. And don't take me wrong, that is not bad, just needs little bit work in the settings and needs little bit more understanding of each base. And to be honest, I like that Moza are not setting any hidden filter and just let it roll as it is. I know the SimMagic community complain about that behavior of the Evo series, and then they try with different firmware. I guess they put just hidden filters, and I believe we don't need that. We really need absolute raw bases, and we have the filters to deal with everything. Again, to make it even more clear, now with those last three models from SimMagic, SimCube 3, and now with the Moza base, I cannot like double the amount of filters and still have details in the feedback, like more details than their previous models. And again, as you saw, it is absolutely impossible to drive 25 Nm torques in normal use. Forget about it, but that doesn't mean there are no benefits from that. And one example is I can't add like 50% friction and inertia to 8 Nm wheelbase because I'm gonna lose all the details. But also those small motors, they don't oscillate that crazy because they don't have that much power. So I'm not saying the big bases are way better than the small, but you will get a little bit more dynamic range. You can play a little bit more with the filters. And for example, for me personally, if I drive with 8 Nm base, I have to adapt to the base. And when I get like really strong base, I have to adapt through the settings, the base to my like. I can't deal with the raw power. Big bases are better, but they are not game-changing experience, but they can give just a little bit more. So let me ask you that question. How much value for you personally have, let's say, 10% better experience in terms of, you know, raw details? But again, it's not just the 10% better experience. That base definitely will have better hardware, and then maybe you will be like sure there will be no situation where you're gonna miss anything in terms of different cars and different games and different experiences. So that also adds to the value. And also you will run like half the power most of the times, which probably means more longevity. I mean, those are the questions you have to ask yourself and understand if that have value for you. Don't expect from me to give you the value, because 1K have probably different value for me, for you, and for anyone individually. We are so different. You saw what that base can do, and you already know how to deal with the settings. What I can tell you is that base is a little bit better than their own old models, but it's not better than the competition in terms of actual use. It is not worse. It lacks some features, but It is the most affordable in terms talking about 25 Newton meter model. It's missing telemetry, which Moza, you have to start working on that. You need the telemetry just like VNM and SimuCube. And another thing Moza have to work on is the USB pass-through, because that's important for many people those days. I personally like that bass. I drove it for 3 months, almost daily. I learned it from inside out. I know it can be better if Moza add telemetry features. I like they keep it raw and let us decide through the setting what we want to feel. But it is that much better than the R21, let's say V2 or R16. It is better, little bit. It needs a little bit more tuning. It can give a little bit more effects, a little bit more feeling. But if that worked for your case, that's something you to decide, not me. I can't say that. And finally, if you decide to go that way, guys, I'm not telling you how to like the force feedback. You can set it however you wish, but break out from the myth we created for direct drive basses without filters. Forget about that. Tune with the filters. You saw what I'm doing. I'm not telling you to like that, but at least consider, think, try, and decide. Don't fight with those forces for no reason. For me, it was game changing. Start playing with the filters, and I start having a little bit better control and a little bit more enjoyable experience. So give it a go at least, and I hope you will find the best settings for your personal case. See you in the next one.